Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. Today we are going to be looking at the biggest TNT cannon I've ever made on this channel, and what this is an 80 sand stacker TNT cannon. So this thing is absolutely crazy because it can, for a start, stack 80 sand, which is just a colossal amount of sand, and it can slab bust 10 slabs, which isn't that impressive, but it is quite helpful. It can scatter, and it's extremely long range. But the one thing that makes this cannon absolutely great is how crazy compact it is. This is about twice as compact as you would find a normal cannon, maybe even 3 times as compact as pretty much any other 80 sand stacker that you would find, and it works a hell of a lot better because I've made this as compact as possible, just as elegant as possible, just really, I've tried to make the best cannon I can, and I've spent way too long making this cannon, more time than I care to admit to, and this thing is absolutely crazy. So now I've finally done it, and this thing is absolutely mental. One thing to note is that this works in 1.7.10, which 90% of servers work with and work on 1.7 TNT mechanics, which including my server does, but if you're making this in 1.8, then it will only stack 12 sand, as I've tested this to no end, just to make sure everything works perfectly fine. And also, now that I've done this cannon, I'm hopefully going to be working on even bigger project, like one-shot cannons, tunneler cannons, 250 sand stackers, just absolutely crazy cannons. Now that I've got pretty much all the basics and everything down and made something crazy like this, I can really start pushing myself even further and try and hopefully become one of the best cannoners ever, because that's really my goal, and hopefully I can get there. But anyway, enough of me rambling. Let's actually take a look at this awesome beast of a cannon in action. So now on to firing it. What we have here is this one giant wall that is from the bottom there. It is 80 blocks tall with these green bricks representing 10 blocks in difference, and then the orange block representing 80 blocks from the bottom. So this is what we're going to be aiming for. And this is our massive cannon that we have set up, and also if you want to download this, you can. It'll be the exact same world that is here now, with all these signs here telling you what to do as well. And jets, just in case you want more proof or you want to look at it before you build it, or just a bunch of that, because I know a lot of people like downloading stuff to test in their own 1.7 world or 1.8. For this is 1.7. So that's completely fine. So what we are going to be doing now is we are going to be sand stacking. So what we need to do for this is there are 3 modes in this. We have the sand compressor, the hammer, and the scatter. So what you never want to do with this cannon is fire sand compressor and scatter at the same time. It will break it, and the scatter is pretty much the hybrid. So we only want the hammer and the sand compressor. So now if we get rid of that and press the button, we can see all the sand is going to fall onto these cobwebs, and then that will get pushed into the side there, and that's just a visual glitch. The hammer will get popped out, and as you can see, 80 sand stacks in one tick. And that is absolutely crazy. And also, if you're wondering why its stacks are actually this high, it's because the hammer is slightly higher than it actually should be, which I'll explain in the tutorial, because there are a lot of complicated mechanics that I'll briefly go over. But it's just this 85 sand as well, just in case something goes wrong. And this actually stacked 84. And the only reason it didn't stack 85 is because this is in line at like this rate. So what we're going to do is just bring this back down to 80, just because I want to. So we can actually do the scatter. So for the scatter, it's slightly different. We can turn off the sand compressor now, and we can put the scatter on. We do not need the hammer either, because that's for slab busting. You'll have the scatter and the hammer on for slab busting. So we'll destroy this redstone here. And what you want to do for this is you either want to go inside and then go ahead and place back your cobwebs. You always want here if you want scattering or something. And then what I like to personally do is I like to go behind here and then place sand and then quickly place down a cobweb. But this is really hard to do, as you can see. The other way we can scatter requires us to actually get rid of this water, which doesn't matter if you have actually built this ring properly, because all the water does is if something goes horribly wrong, the water catches it. But what you can do is you can be on the outside here and you can temporarily get rid of this block, but you will be placing it back, placing it down your cobweb there, and then going ahead and placing your sand on top, and then you want to place it back. So then that sand will be going in the cobweb, and now we can go ahead and press this button, and we should have everything working fine. As we can see, the TNT is going to come back here, it's going to activate the scatter, and then it should push it out, and as you can see, it should hybrid. As you can see, it pretty much nuked it, not completely, but as you can see, it did a ton of damage, and the reason we have that there instead of like a separate hybrid stick is because then it would make this thing a hell of a lot bigger, which I really don't want, and it's a very simple system that you can add in because it uses the same piston as the sand compressor. So anyway, as you can see, this thing is absolutely crazy. You can easily get past like 100 walls even if you wanted to, because this thing is really long range and it's just absolutely crazy. So anyway, now that we've done firing, let's actually get into the complex redstone, and hopefully I can explain it without butchering it. So now onto the redstone. So what we're going to be looking at is there are tons of pieces to this cannon. So we've got our sand compressor, our propulsion system, our hammer, and then we've got our little central area here, which is the main barrel bit, which has all these pistons moving, and we've got piston aligners and all sorts in here. There's so much going on, so it will take a bit to explain it. So the first thing we have is I'm going to be going over is the sand compressor. I'm going to be going over this very briefly because it's a slightly modified version of the one that I did about 3 weeks ago. One thing that was super annoying is I had an issue where the sand kept pushing into this block when because the original design had it where these pistons were in the same line, so I just pushed it back by one and changed just a few things about it. It's essentially the same. I also changed the input slightly as well, but essentially it's the same as that, and if you want a better explanation than this, then go check out that video, and that's what I built first. That was the very first thing I built, and also I said I'd be using an 80 stacker hammer, but I thought it would be easier just to use something really tall, which actually one guy in the comments told me, so thank you, dude. I forgot your name, but hopefully I remember to put it on screen. But anyway, what happens here is we have got this button which goes out into two inputs. The first thing it does is it activates all these dispensers, because what it does is it powers this torch underneath, which will unpower this torch here, which will activate these 4 dispensers here, and then it will activate these up the top here. And then the next thing it does is it goes through this massive system here, which is a monostable circuit, so that means we'll give this a 1-tick pulse, and what that means is that this will be pushed up and it won't come straight back down, because sticky pistons, if they're activated for 1 tick, they will stay up. And the reason we have a cauldron is because it has a thing called a variable redstone output, which means that no blocks around it will be affected by redstone unless you have a comparator output, which we have here. And when this is up in the air, it won't get an output. So what this will do is this will retract all these pistons here, and that way all the sand will start falling. What happens after that is this goes down the slight delay clock, which goes into this sticky piston thing here, which will retract this area because that way it opens the barrel. And then after this is fired into here, it will extend, making a full barrel. Because if you don't have a full barrel, then the TNT can get trapped into this area, and that's not fun. So that's a massive thing, and I've managed to make it really compact and go with everything else. So the next load of redstone is this massive clock, or massive delay redstone that goes along here. The first thing it does is it retracts this cauldron, so after all the sand is fallen into the cobwebs down there, this will re-extend so that way the sand won't like fly everywhere. Next thing this does is it goes through another monostable circuit, except this one is 4 ticks, so this will activate for 4 ticks. What that will do is it'll push, these pistons will then push the sand out into this middle bit here, and then this TNT here will then push all that sand into this little thing here, into this thing here. It'll have a cobweb in it. I forgot what it's called, but this is just essentially just another barrel piece which will push out later at the same time when this TNT, when the hammer does, which I'll get into in a sec. And then after that goes in there, this thing re-extends, and that's this part done. So while that's happening, nothing else is happening in the cannon, because we have got a huge delay going off the left side here, which then after all that's done, or halfway through that's done, this will activate, and all this does is this activates this back propulsion piece, which is just 6 TNT, which that will push all of this TNT, and which will push this TNT all the way against this block later on. And also, if you're wondering why I have the ladders, it's because TNT is 0.98 blocks wide, which means that the TNT can't actually get past it because there's only 0.9 space, so it is essentially acting as there's a block in front of it, but it doesn't obstruct it, so it can still force through, and has the added advantage that if you're working on the cannon you can walk through it. So I am falling in love with ladders now, and I should have learned about them a long time ago. So we have the same ladder thing here, but what happens is 2 ticks after this we've got these redstone torches going off the side, and this is the most compact way to activate all these dispensers on the bottom. It activates these ones and these ones, both those two rows, and then this will deactivate and that will activate. And if you don't know, it takes a tick for redstone torches to deactivate or activate, so this is 2 ticks. So then what happens up here is we have a repeater set to 2 ticks, so it can activate all these other dispensers here. So what happens after that is it sends up a massive signal up to this cannon bit here, and this thing is so tall that we have to have a second line going up to the top here. And this is 96 dispensers that are the hammer, because you need the amount to stack sand. There's a very simple equation where it's 1.151 times the amount of sand that you're trying to stack, and that's how much TNT you need. You cannot round it down though, you can only round it up, which was the equivalent of 93, and since I just wanted 4 round it, I just went for 96. And that's why I can stack like 2 or 3 more sand, and sometimes for some odd reason 4. So that's the reason it can do that, and that's the hammer. And that will fire down into this bit, which we'll go over soon. So what happens next is we have another input going out here, and this does not power this block here because it is a slab. And then this will activate this redstone here, which will go activate, have a 20 tick delay before it reaches the comparator clock. So this is the most compact bit, which I learnt about the way to compact this when I was fiddling around making my mini compressor cannon, mini hybrid compressor cannon, which if you haven't seen it, you probably should. It's really awesome. But this essentially allows us to activate everything without having a second line of redstone, because what we can do is you need 3 bits of redstone to have the ticking effect. But if this activates when it's only got 1 or 2 redstone, it will stay as a solid pulse. So we have essentially an extra delay without having an extra delay. So that delay goes all the way along here, up around here, and up around here, which I'll get over shortly. But this just activates this the scatter, which is the main TNT that you'll use for hybriding. And then what happens down here is this redstone goes all the way along here. It goes downwards down here, which activates a monostable circuit, and then this has to be 2 ticks because redstone torches can't change unless there's a 2 tick delay. And then this goes up and activates these 2 pistons here, which I'm very proud of that I got it this compact, because this redstone here does not activate these pistons. And what these are piston aligners, and what they have to do is they have to be at this very edge here, or the TNT could go slightly left. So let's say the propellant here is on the left side, so here, and everything else is on the right side, then that will propel it way out in like that direction. And this doesn't matter if it's like 10 blocks away, but you'll be firing this at hundreds of blocks away, at 10s or 12 or God knows how many chunks. It makes a huge difference. So this makes the propellant and everything go on the right side of the cannon. If you don't have this, it'll screw everything up. But I'm very proud of how compact I managed to get that. But what happens next is this goes all the way up here, and it activates this sand. It activates the sand pusher thing, and this activates slightly after the actual hammer does, because the hammer has to fall about half a block, so that way it's exactly 1 block above all of the sand. And that is super important because it means that we don't have to have like 50 more dispensers. So as you can see, I've spent so much time into this because this a lot of issues, a lot of problems, a lot of things you have to calculate and keep into action that you seem to actually forget when you're building it. So as you can see, this thing is super complicated and really insane that I got it this compact, which is just that. So that's the redstone, that's how it works, and now we're going to get onto the tutorial, which is going to be super long. But anyway, let's get into it anyway. So now onto the tutorial. So since this is such a big cannon, we are not going to be doing the usual thing where we have every single spot laid out, because that would take far too long, and also I'm not going to be counting every single individual resource, because I'll be literally sitting here for 2 hours just doing that alone. But I've laid out a very basic map. This is a 16 by 16 area. This white bit represents the main area where you're going to be building the cannon. Of course, there will be spots where there are no redstone. This glass represents where there's absolutely no blocks, because this is super obvious that there's no blocks here, because the sand compressor will be here, and then the main propulsion will be here, and everything else will be in here. And that white bit over there is just the very edge of the chunk where there is absolutely nothing. So if you're on the exact dimensions, it is technically in a 16 by 14 area, but of course you've got this area. So if you are claiming 1 land and you only have enough space to build this in one lane than you can. If you're building a massive shell around it, then you will not be able to cover the front or the back, but you'll be able to cover each side of one block. So just a few things to keep in mind is that, and also, well, what you're going to need is the basic resources are some building blocks, some slabs. I would recommend that you have some glass or something, especially if you're recording, just because you can make it look really cool by like adding some barriers and stuff onto it. It's just an idea, you don't have to do it at all. You can keep it super plain if you want, but it's just an idea. I also need some dispensers, some redstone repeaters, some redstone torches, some redstone pistons, water source blocks, a comparator, some sticky pistons, one cauldron, some ladders, a wooden button. Has to be wooden. If it's anything else, this cannon will not work. And then you're going to need some cobweb, sand, and TNT for when you're filling it up and reloading and stuff. So a few things to note in this tutorial is we will be building at this layer here, and we will have tons of cuts. That's just the way it is. And also the reason we're building at this area is because that way we can reference everything a lot easier, and that way we'll just build this bit underneath later on. So what we're going to be doing first is building the sand compressor. So if we come over here, you want to come over 4 blocks from the very edge, come up to and place your wooden button on the very front like that. If you have used this space, then just place the button on the back. It won't affect anything at all. So the first thing we are going to do is build the actual sand compressor. So you want to come out 2 blocks like so. You want to leave this block free because you will be actually placing it there, and you want to come over here. So you want to place up 4 dispensers like so, and another 4 here. Then you want to place 2 blocks along here because they will not be powered, and another dispenser along here like so. Next thing we're going to be doing is going back 1 block and placing out 5 blocks like there, followed by 5 pistons, and then we just want to repeat this going up again. These top pistons will be the actual thing holding the sand, and the bottom ones will be the one pushing it. So then after that, we can then place some blocks on the top like so, and then we can go down to these ones and place 5 on the bottom like so, and we can connect this up later. So after that, what you want to do now is come all the way back here and place down a block here and a few extra blocks just along here. So the first thing you want to do is place down redstone, because that way you can destroy it later, followed by a repeater, and then you want to place a block here, a piece of redstone here and here. After that, you want to then place a redstone torch on the underneath here, followed by another block on top here that will have a redstone repeater set to 2 ticks delay, and the rest of them going along there will be 4. So after that, you want to place a block on the redstone torch and a redstone torch here and here. This redstone torch will power all these pistons, and this is just a torch tower. And then you want to place a block here and some along here, and these ones will power all these dispensers along the top like so. Already made one super annoying mistake, sorry about that, is that this block needs to actually be pushed over 1, because we actually need to place blocks here with ladders on the side here and then water on the edge here. So sorry about that, I told there would be mistakes, so just bear with me as we get through this. So now we are going to be building the rest of the redstone for this. So what we want to do is come out 5 blocks, place a block up here, and then come out 2 more and place another block on top here. What you want to do now is you want to get your redstone repeaters, and all of these are going to be set to 4 ticks delay, and this is going to be 7 repeaters in total. And then what we're going to be sticking on the top here is our cauldron. So what you want to do is get a sticky piston, your cauldron, and then of course your water. And also, if I'm somehow not saying cauldron or lava or something not right, then just deal with it. So now we need to bring out 2 more blocks, followed by a sticky piston or a sticky piston facing upwards, and another block here. What we want to do is place sand on top of there so we can turn it into a monostable circuit, and then we just want to place these all on 4 ticks delay, so that way when it comes along here, it'll activate these pistons for a very short period of time. So now what we're going to be doing is hooking this up to the cauldron system. So what you want to do is place a block there with a redstone repeater set to 1 tick delay there, with another piston here with a piece of sand on top, and this is going to be another monostable circuit. But then you want to place a repeater here with a block there, so this will power this piston, which will push it up. So now what you want to do is place a comparator here with a block facing upwards, and then you can go ahead and place your repeater out the side here. So what this will do is this will hold all the sand that's on top here until the button is pressed, so that way it'll fall down. So now we are going to be building the sticky pistons at the end here to stop this from going everywhere. So what you want to do is place 2 blocks here. I personally like to make them glass just because I can. You can do whatever you like, But anyway, what you want to do now is go 2 blocks from that other place down a repeater set to 4 ticks delay. Then you want to place a block in front of it like so with a block here. Then you want to place another repeater set to 1 tick delay here with a block on top and a block underneath here and a block there. Then you want to place redstone here and a redstone repeater set to 1 tick delay here. And as you can see, this will block it off. So all you want to do now is cover around the area here, placing blocks in these spots here, and then what I personally like to do is just make this all one glass thing so you can see through it on the very edge. You do not have to do that, but you do want to make sure that this whole area is covered, including this end bit here. And then what you want to do is after you've got the top here, you can go ahead and fold it around the side here, and then fill in these gaps with whatever you like. This tiny gap here is not necessary, but it's good if you want to walk around, build it, and when you come down here. So now we have finished the sand compressor, and that is the main bit to that, well, the main sand bit to the cannon. So now we can work on the propulsion. So now we're going to be hooking this propulsion system up to where the actual propulsion system is going to start. So you want to place 2 blocks here with redstone on top. Then you want to place blocks all the way along here until you get to the very back, followed by 2 more blocks. And the reason you could set this to redstone too, but it's all about resource saving and resource efficiency, and I like to have everything as just use as least resources as possible. So now we just need to place redstone repeaters all the way along here, so set to 4 ticks, and this is where we are going to be building the main bit. So this line along here is going to be the actual barrel. So let's build the propulsion system. So we're going to need our dispensers out, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be placing a block here, and then we're going to be building our actual dispenser. So you're going to build a ton here. You're going to need your water and your ladder again, because what we're going to be doing is placing 2 blocks along here with ladders on the side and water here so it doesn't spill. Then we can place 2 more blocks here, and now we are going to build a 6 by 4 area of dispensers on each side. So this is going to be 6 high along here, so it's going to be 6 there, and then it's going to be 6 here as well, because as you can see, that's 6 wide way over there. And then as you can see, you're going to have it like this, but now we are going to mirror it on the other side. And also, do not fill any of the dispensers with TNT until you are completely done, because if something accidentally gets activated, then something will blow up, and that will not be fun at all. So now that we have built this bit, we can start adding the redstone. So what you want to do now is place redstone on all these little bits here, but then we want to place up a block like so and place redstone on top. And then we just want to place a block here with a slab on top here so it can actually go up the top. Then we want to place a redstone repeater set to 2 ticks and place redstone all the way along here, and then all the way along here. And then we are just going to place a block here to actually carry over the redstone to the other side, but this has a double purpose because later on we'll be placing a block here and another block here, so that way it can hook up to the hammer when we actually build it. So now we're going to be hooking up these bottom 2 dispensers, and to do this we're going to have our redstone torch thing. So what you're going to do is you want to place a block there with 2 redstone along the side here, and then you want to place a 6 long wide thing here with redstone torches all the way along the side here, and then you want to place redstone all the way along the top like this, so that way they are off. And the one on the other side is going to be pretty much the same, but ever so slightly different. Just want to place a block here, and later on when we hook it up to the comparators, you will need a block there. So then what you want to do is place redstone on the very top here, but then you aren't going to be placing a block down there because you will need redstone to go under it. You are going to then place a slab here, and then place your redstone on top, and then go ahead and place your redstone torches along the side here, like so, and then place redstone on the top like so, so it deactivates all the torches. So now we've actually powered all of these dispensers, and now we can add the rest of it. So now we're going to be building the comparator clock. So what you want to do is place the redstone torch here actually, followed by a piece of redstone here, and then we are going to place redstone repeaters until we get to the very end one, which is actually going to be a comparator. So the important thing to do here is to put it on subtraction mode and then place redstone all the way around like so, and this will make your 1 tick comparator clock. So now we are going to be building some of this barrel here, because this is going to be the end bit where all the redstone gets pushed up to. So then we are going to cover up these blocks, but the first thing we need to do is place down a piston here and a piston here for our piston liners, and then we can go ahead and fill up these blocks with whatever we want. I personally just like to do glass because it looks nicer. And then we can go ahead and go all the way back here and place down water. You can do whatever you like. You do not actually have to place water in here for so, but it definitely has to be at the end here. But what I personally like to do is just go ahead and place water all the way along to the edge, so that way if something does go wrong, then this won't affect it at all. And unlike the hammer, having water here does not degrade the performance at all. So as you can see, this goes all the way to the end and it will not affect it at all. If you do not like the water hanging out here, then you can just place a block there, but it doesn't really matter. So now what we're going to be doing is building the scanner mode. So what we're going to have to do now is build a slab tower thing. So what you're going to do is place a slab along the side here, and then another one along the side here, and then another one along here, and then you want to destroy it underneath, and then you want to place redstone on top of these like so. Now that you've done that, we can start placing our dispensers in. So on this side, we're going to be placing 2 here and 1 on the top. We do not need to place any on this side. And then after you've done that, of course, you can cover up this area if you want. I'm just going to cover up that bit with a piece of glass because I can. And now that you have done that, all we have to do is hook this up to the very top. So you want to replace this with either a slab or a block, and remove this block here, and then you want to place redstone on the top here, and this will activate all these 3 dispensers, and they will flicker like, I don't know, like 20 TNT roughly when you fire this, maybe more, and that's what's going to be used for your scatter or hybrid. So now what we're going to be doing is building the bit where this hooks up to the actual cannon or to the barrel. So what you want to do is place down a slab here, and this is just in case any sand falls but gets caught. It will not blow up anything, and it will deter the water if any water somehow gets in here. So the next thing you want to do is go ahead and place a slab here, go back 1 block, place a block here, and place a piston here, and then you want to go ahead and place blocks along the side and on top of it, because what will happen is this will retract, and since that's the roof, the sand will hit this roof here and go on the cobweb. So then that will just stay in here until this is actually pushed. So now we are going to be building the hammer, or the area for the hammer. So what you want to do is place a block around the back here, and this is where it's going to be pushing into. So what you want to do is place a block there and a block around it, and then we are going to cover up this piece here because the block for the actual hammer bit is going to be slightly higher than the rest. So all we need to do now is extend the barrel all the way out, because this is just spare space at this point in time. So we do not need to have any of this extra space here. And then on this side here, you just want to cover up any free blocks, and redstone here, redstone and redstone repeaters are, redstone in particular is 0.9 blocks wide. So none of the TNT will get caught into these blocks, so you do not have to worry about this. And this is going to be your main barrel, and the TNT is going to be shooting all the way back from here, all the way to the front. And one thing I would recommend is having this along here, so that way the water from there does not interfere with anything else. So now that we have done that, we can actually start building the cannon. So what you want to do now, not the cannon, the hammer. So what you want to do now is build a slightly higher area around it, and then here comes the real tedious part. But what you want to do is you want to build a 24 high area of dispensers, and as you know, 24 times 4 is 96. So how I like to do this is I like to build one that's 4 high, one that's then 8 high, and one that's then 12 high. The reason for this is it's very easy to lose count, and this is just my personal favorite way of building it that I thought of when I was actually building this, because it is very easy to lose track. So you pretty much just go 4 higher than the old one. So now this one should be 16 high, and now all we have to do is come back down to this one and build it up to 20 high. And then once we get to the next one, we can then just build up the rest. If anyone else has any ideas of how to build a better way of doing this, then tell me in the comments below, because I would love to hear it, because I've been building cannons for ages. Not super massive ones, but I know it can get very tedious. So now this should be 24 high. So as you can see, that is very tall. In fact, it's taller than we're actually going to stack the sand. So the reason for this is just I think it's easy to build something taller rather than a massive hammer thing. That's mostly for cannons that are over 100, and I will be doing a bigger hammer at some point anyway. But if we build this all the way up, yep, now we just need to cover up this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we've got it 20 high. So now the next bit is going to be the very tedious bit. So what we're going to be doing now is building the hammer bit, and this thing is by far the most tedious in this actual cannon. So what you want to do is place 2 redstone here, and this will go into a repeater, and then you want to place 1 solid block here, but then you want to place a slab along the side here, and then make sure this is a solid block. Place your redstone torch along the side there, and then place redstone along the top like so. The next thing we are going to do is then place a slab along here. This can actually be a solid block, but when you're going past a dispenser like so, make sure it is a solid block, and then you are going to build a redstone torch there. So now what we are going to be doing is we are going to be building this all the way up to the top. So now I've redone this pattern all the way up to the top, and that takes forever, so sorry about everyone that suffered through that. But anyway, what happens now is when we get to this point, the redstone doesn't go all the way up, so what we have to do is add another current point. So what we are going to be doing is we're going to be building slab stairs, whatever you want to call them, all the way up to the top. So personally, I just like to place blocks all the way along here and along the side here. I'm sure someone has a much better idea of how to do this, but I just personally like to place temporary blocks all the way along the side here because it's very easy to build in game up to about this point, and then you want to start building slabs along the side, and then you want to go all the way up until the redstone actually gets till it doesn't get powered. So we're just going to keep going all the way up until we see the redstone not get powered. So it's at this point here, so we are going to get rid of all these blocks, but the first thing we want to do before then is we then want to place a block here, or a slab, and make that a solid block because we are going to be adding redstone into that power there. So now what you want to do is just get rid of all these temporary blocks, and what this is going to do is that's going to power your hammer, which is going to be your main thing. So as you can see, all of these redstone torches should now be off, and they will activate simultaneously, and so all the TNT will blow up at the same time when it's at the wall. So now what we're going to be doing is powering this piston and this piston, so they activate just at the right time, just before this fires, so a tick before this fires off, so the TNT and sand is in the barrel, except the hammer will activate, of course, 2 ticks before the sand, like I said in the redstone explanation. So now what you want to do is place 3 redstone repeaters, set to 4 ticks delay, facing out from the very front redstone there, and then you want to place a block here, followed by another redstone repeater set to 4 ticks delay, and a block there, and another block there. You want to place redstone here with a redstone repeater set to 4 ticks delay here, and of course this block here doubles up as something we can stick a repeater on, and we are going to be taking power from underneath it later on. So anyway, what we're going to do now is we are going to place a slab up the top here, and a slab along here, because we just want to make a tiny little slab stair, and then we want to place a block going along here with, you can either place a redstone repeater here set to 2 ticks delay, or you can bring it one closer and activate it later. Doesn't really matter, but I just like to save as much redstone as possible. So now we are going to be building the piston liner part. So what you want to do is you want to go underneath where the actual block here is going to be. So you want to destroy this block here and place a block there. And the reason we want to do this is so we don't power any other blocks. So we are going to place a redstone torch here, and then another one underneath here, which is going to power that block like so. So in short, this should only activate these pistons. So next thing you want to do is you want to replace this block here with a slab, because we need to take an input from underneath, or an output from underneath. So you want to place a piece of redstone there, and then you want to place blocks going along here with redstone here, and then a repeater set to, don't actually remember, but we'll get back to it. Then you want to place a piece of sand there with another block there set with a repeater set to 2 ticks delay, and a block here with redstone going off onto the side. So what this will do is this will activate this, and then that will activate the piston liners. It'll pulse them, and then they'll retract just before the actual thing fires. And if we come over here quickly, we can see that there is actually no repeater. It was just me being stupid. So you want to place a piece of redstone there with a block on top like so. And now we are nearly done. So believe it or not, your cannon is actually finished now, and all you have to do is fill up the sand and the TNT. And if you're building the sand compressor, one thing I like to do is I like to destroy these 5 bits here and replace them with slabs, so that way I can come down here and just walk along and place it inside like so. But of course, when you come in here, you are going to need to come along. What I like to do is come along the back here and place your cobweb along there, and then all you need to do now is stack this 16 high, or what I personally like to do, 17 high. And then all you have to do is add your signs in all your places. So you're going to have your sand compressor sign here, you're going to have your hammer sign here, and you're going to have your scatter sign on this piece of glass here. So anyway, hope you guys did enjoy this video. It keeps raining on me. I wish there was a game rule to stop it. So anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did and you want to see more cannons like this, leave a like. If you don't like these type of cannons, then I guess dislike, or tell me why you don't like them. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy these videos. There'll be a ton more like this in the future, so hit that subscribe button if you want to see more TNT cannons like this. But anyway, goodbye from TNT Madness.